Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Mug Talks episode 3 this week. Already 3 weeks down. I can't believe how quick time goes. I swear, as an adult, it just goes quicker and quicker. The older you get, the faster time goes. And time is, it's such a weird thing. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about today. Hope you've got your mug, get your coffee, get your tea, get your hot chockey, whatever it is that floats your boat, and come and join me. So today's episode, I mentioned this in episode 1 that I would go through values and what our values are in life, relationships, career, right? We have different categories of life, and what you'll find is you'll have different values that apply to different categories within your life. So, what are values? Values are they represent what you hold to be as important and what you want to strive for in your life. Okay? So what you hold important, not what your mum held important, not what your dad held important, not what your exes or your partner or your friends or your colleagues hold important, what you hold important. Okay? I'm all about self-leadership and authenticity, and it's taken a long time for me through my journey to actually know exactly what my values were without the influences of other people. People pleaser 101 over here. If you're a people pleaser, it means that you've spent a lot of your life trying to make sure everyone else is happy and okay, and you abandoned yourself in that process, which means it just takes a little longer to figure out exactly what you value, what you believe, what you stand for, right? You kind of know, you guide yourself through life in a way anyway, but you just are not crystal clear or confident enough to stand in, this is what I value, this is how I choose to live my life, this is the standard that I'm going to uphold. And anyone who doesn't want to live in that standard is so okay, right? We're all individuals. We can have compassion for everyone else to do their thing. And it's about learning to be like, okay, that actually doesn't align for me, doesn't bring me peace, that doesn't sit well with me. So, all the best, and you go do your thing. So, the pardon me. Values are the fundamental beliefs, principles, or standards that guide you, right? And I will drop in the show notes, I will drop a PDF with a list of values so that you can go through and have a look at this after you listen and go through the categories of your life and figure out what your actual values are. And then what I want you to do from that point is like put that value on as a lens, like glasses that you put on, you look through into the world through the lens of that value and ask yourself, am I living this value? Am I showing up in this value? And am I receiving this value as well, right? Are you giving the value? Are you receiving the value? So let's kind of break it down now, why this is important and why, if you're not aligned, particularly in relationships in values, where it's going to cause clashes, okay? Oh, it's a really cold and rainy day here. So like this hot coffee is just absolutely divine. And for those of you who can't see me, I've got Ugg boots, rocking the Ugg boots today. I rock them every day, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna bring them in today. I'm gonna bring them in, let everybody meet the Ugg boots. Okay, so why are values important? Let's start with relationships, but I will briefly cover all the the other categories as well, because I think it's important. So in relationship, let's say you have a value of, let's say you have a value of honesty, and you're with someone who doesn't care or value honesty, right? You're going to be continually showing up wanting to be honest and wanting to receive honesty. You're going to feel in your body a sense of betrayal each time there is not honesty happening within the relationship, which is going to absolutely dysregulate your nervous system. the other person, it's not a value to them. So they don't particularly care if they lie, tell fibs, hide stuff, be shady, act a certain way, because they don't value it. For whatever reason, 100% it's their own stuff. It's not even about you, it's their own stuff. They don't value honesty for whatever reason. Or they might say they do, but then act a different way. Still means they don't value it, okay? You cannot say that you value something and then completely have disregard for it in the next action that you do. That's a misalignment. You're going to feel that misalignment. And so the really harsh awareness piece of doing this particular exercise of figuring out your values is that it means there's going to be people in your life currently, or you'll just completely recognize this from people that have been there in the past, that you just simply don't align with. And that's the light bulb moment of like, oh, that's why I kept getting hurt. I valued this, they didn't. Complete clash, right? And it's not about then trying to change the other person to match your values. It's about having the confidence and the self-leadership and the emotional mastery to go, I can see that this isn't a value for you, and that's so okay. That's you. This is your life. You get to live it. However, I choose differently for myself, and I'm going to actually go this way. So I wish you all the best. And yes, that's easier said than done. But I guarantee you, if you're noticing these kind of issues in your relationship, you have a misalignment in values, what you value individually, what you value within the sanctity of a relationship, and what you value in giving and receiving. It's going to be a misalignment. It's going to cause your nervous system to be dysregulated on a continual basis. So that's why it's super important to really understand, what do you value? And who are you bringing into your life, and do they value the same things? Just me explaining this, maybe you can see that in the future, you're like, oh yeah, this sets me up for far more success when it comes to relationships and life. If I know these and I live through these, it means that you get to start disqualifying people that don't have the same values as you, as far as those people who get to come into your inner circle, right? Like, you've got your inner circle, your acquaintances, other people. The inner circle are the ones that you're like your ride or dies. They're the people who you are completely yourself with all the time. They show up for you. They have been showing up for you. You show up for them. It's just the unspoken agreement of like, we are each other's people, right? You disqualify anyone who doesn't have the same kind of values as you out of that inner circle. And that's so okay to do. You can still get along with those people. It just means they don't get complete access to you in your every single moment of life. And that's cool, right? Because if we're aiming for peace, if we're aiming for fulfillment, if we're aiming for a life that brings us joy, and yes, there's always going to be challenges within that in life anyway, but these, if you're aiming for these kinds of feelings and emotions, then people who blatantly just don't have the same values as you are probably not going to bring you peace, joy, fulfillment. That just kind of makes sense, right? So figuring out what your values are in relationship is really important. Now, the list of values is huge. I'm not going to rattle through all of them at all. I'm just going to go through some of the ones that, for me personally, I hold high on the list, and I'll try and remember as many as I can for each category. So let's go relationships first. So we've got, honesty, loyalty, trust, authenticity, integrity, growth, family, health, communication, being open and communicative with each other, not hiding things, actions speaking louder than words sometimes, consistency. There's so many, right? So there's a bunch of options, like examples for what you could hold as a value in relationships. Now, imagine growth, for example. Let's say you do a lot of personal development, you do a lot of personal growth, your awareness is quite high, you're willing to have the hard conversations, And you also maybe have gotten to a point where you don't have to try and change somebody, you don't have to try and earn anybody's love anymore, right? If you're a people pleaser, you'll be resonating with this. And you get to a point where you just observe. It's like, okay, that I noticed that didn't feel very good in my body. And I'm actually just, that person has continually done things throughout our lives that have hurt me and have upset me and have shown me that they actually are not solid and they are not completely consistent and reliable. And so you get to a point where you just start to observe someone's behavior. You start to observe their actions, you observe their words. And when you get to a point of personal growth where you can sit in, I know who I am and I can lead myself and I don't need to earn anybody's love anymore. And I've had the conversations over and over and I'm kind of done with the conversations because the actions continually don't level up to what their sorries might be or what their words might say they're going to do instead. You get to a point where you start observing the behavior, right? And this will happen a lot in relationships because with women particularly, you will fight to have that person be there for you. You will fight to fix it. You'll fight to repair the relationship. You will do everything you can. You'll bend yourself over backwards. You'll change. You'll do the growth. You'll think it's your fault. You'll do everything that you can to try fix it until it gets to a point where you just are emotionally tapped out and done. And that's when you start to emotionally disconnect. And that's kind of this process where you start to see behavior, actions, words, and instead of trying to do anything about it, you just observe. And you observe how it makes you feel. And you observe how you notice, yep, that's starting to, that pattern has been so there for so long. I actually don't need to try and be there anymore. That's continually hurting me by continually trying to show up and earn that person's love. And you just slowly disconnect. And you get to a point where you're like, I'm so okay with me now. I've done so much growth to try and fix that particular relationship that now I've outgrown it completely, right? And you might resonate with this, whether it be in intimate relationships, family dynamic relationships, friendships, colleague relationships. This is pretty kind of across the board behavior for particularly women and men too, to be honest. Men will fight in their own way to get a relationship to work until they start to shut down and they start to just kind of like fade away into the background because they're like, I'm just done, I can't do this anymore. So it's not just women that I'm referring to here. It's definitely men experience their own version of this. It might just look a different way. So when you do the growth in a relationship and you have someone close in your circle who isn't working on themselves and they don't believe that working on a relationship is important, naturally you're going to go in different directions. You're going to continue to level up, become more aware, improve the way you communicate, improve the words that you use. You're going to change your subconscious belief systems, which means that everything changes. If your identity shifts, your beliefs then change, your thoughts then change, your words change, your actions change, right? It's like a full cycle that will happen. And if you start to go through all of that, but then you're still intertwined with somebody who maybe you try to communicate something that's hurt you with them, and instead of them being able to hear you, they get reactive, they get defensive, they dismiss you, or they try and put you down to make themselves feel better in that moment. When that rift starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, you will naturally disconnect from that person. You will have less and less in common, and it's just like a stage of outgrowing them. And that's not a bad thing. It can sound harsh, but it's really not. If your goal is to have peace and joy and fulfillment and whatever else that you have goals going for you in your life, and somebody's bringing you down back to a level where you don't enjoy being and you're doing all of this work on yourself, time, energy, emotional labor, financial commitments, it takes a lot to grow as a human. It takes a lot to outgrow the stuff that's held you at a certain level where you're not happy or you're not fulfilled or you're like, this isn't the life for me. It takes a lot of work in so many aspects to outgrow that. So you don't want to continually surround yourself with people who pull you back in, pull you back down, and then you have to go back through that work and do it again and again and again. So if growth is not high on the list of values for both people, naturally there's going to be a rift that starts to form. So it's super important, I feel, like I think that it's really important that both people need to want to work on the relationship together, and they both need to grow individually and as a couple, or individually and as a family dynamic, or individually and as a friend dynamic, whatever it might be. So growth, that's a really good example of how a misalignment in values and growth will cause a rift and a disconnection at some point. And, it's really important to just to know that, like, some people, they're here for a moment, a season, or a lifetime. I've had so many people come and go through my life, and sometimes it's really painful when they are no longer in your life and you maybe do things that you regret or say things that you regret, or they do things that they regret, but it's just kind of causes too much damage. And then, they're there to teach you a lesson, or they're just there for a moment of incredible adventure and then they're gone, right? Moments, seasons, and lifetimes. People are coming and going in your life and or staying for the long term. So looking at your values, when you start living through those values, like each day, okay, if my value was health, what would a healthy person do today? What does a healthy person eat? How does a healthy person move their body? What does a healthy person think? How does a healthy person interact with others? How does a healthy person carry themselves through the day? If your value is growth, okay, what growth mindset would I need to have today to meet that value? What growth mindset do I need to achieve that goal? If it's trust and honesty and loyalty, how do I show up giving trust, honesty, and loyalty, and how do I ensure that I am receiving trust, honesty, and loyalty back? What boundaries do you need to have in place? What does a person who values trust have as boundaries? What boundaries need to be in place as a person who values loyalty, right? If you're in a relationship and you value loyalty and your partner's cheating on you, misalignment, right? You can't be pouring loyalty into somebody and then be getting met with someone who cheats on you, someone who emotionally cheats, physically cheats, whatever it is. That is a misalignment. It's not going to work. Your nervous system is going to be completely shot all the freaking time. You're going to be overthinking, awake every night, wondering what they're doing, who they're talking to, getting to the point maybe where you're like looking at their phone, trying to suss out what's going on, right? Instead of just going baseline, self-leadership, I value loyalty. You're up to something, and you can call me crazy as much as you want, but I can see it clear as day. It's happening. I'm choosing to leave because that doesn't work for me, and I'm not going to try to change you. If you don't want this, all good. See ya, right? So super important, get really clear on what your values are and move through life staying in alignment with that. That will bring you the most peace, and I believe that to my core. When you're living in alignment with your values and you're surrounded by people who also match those and care about you and grow, and they're there, you have more peace in your life when you know you have those people, consistency and reliable people. So only let them ones really in. Like, let those ones get the full access to you. Let those ones be on the receiving end of you giving them everything. I think that's as much as I want to cover for relationships. So let's move into, let's say career. All right. So values that you can value in career could be ethics, like you have strong work ethic. Finances, okay, you might have money, you might have income goals or income goals that you want to achieve through your career. You might have particular skill sets that you want to really, really hone in on and reach a certain level of. So, for example, someone who might be in the medical field, they may start off as a nurse and their goal is to become a surgeon. So that person's going to have really clear pathway where they have to follow to get to becoming a surgeon that takes many, many, many years. Other values might be you want to work somewhere in a job that does fulfill you, that does bring you joy, that does challenge you, that allows you to grow, that allows you to level up and get promotions. Maybe you thrive in like a high sales KPI environment. Maybe you thrive working in nature, right? Like, what are the different jobs? Whatever it is that your career is, you're going to have certain values that match that particular career. So going through and figuring out what those values are and then aligning that to your workplace too, right? So let's say you really value, let's like even something like an environment that is encouraging and safe and it wants to see you thrive. Let's say that's something that you value in your career environment. And you go get a job where the manager or the person looking after, managing most of the staff, the higher up, the boss, whatever, is somebody who is emotionally immature, let's say, because I feel like a lot of people have probably experienced this kind of manager. Someone who will pick their favourites, or they enjoy other people's suffering in order for them to climb the ladder, or they purposely hold you back for, whatever reason, but it's because their own, oh my gosh, sorry, I need to fix my top up. I don't know what's going on here. I'm creeping down, the mic's going everywhere. All right, that's better. Sorry. Everyone listening, I'm just like fixing up my top. Okay, so yeah, or the person who's like, you bring them ideas and you're innovative and they immediately say they shut you down. It's like, no, that's not your place. No, that's not a good idea. How about you just keep your ideas to yourself, huh? How about you leave the ideas up to the higher ups? How about you leave your ideas up to me? Whatever it might be, right? There's no room for you to grow. There's no room for you to expand and evolve within the role because you're constantly hitting a ceiling that's been placed on you. Or there's bullying, like workplace bullying is real, right? If you value like innovative growth places and you're in a work environment where there's bullying, you are going to feel that in your body. You are going to have Monday-itis hardcore, probably Sunday night-itis, to be honest. You're going to be like Sunday night, dreading going to work the next day. Going to work, it's sucking the life out of your soul. That's a misalignment. Look for something else. Find a workspace where you can thrive. We spend a lot of time working, guys. We spend a lot of time in our workplace. You want to make sure it is working with you to help you to level up and grow to become the best version that you can be. That's so important. So yeah, figuring out your values in career, workplace environment, important, relationships important, and then I guess like personal values would be the other bracket. So what do you want to see for your day-to-day life? Like when you look back and you're 80 years old and you're sitting on the rocking chair on the porch, what do you want to look back on and have experienced through your life? Do you want to have experienced adventure? Do you want to have experienced financial stability? Do you want to have experienced travel? Do you want to have experienced love, kindness, compassion, altruism, which is like giving back, like, volunteering? What are those values in your personal life that you would be completely proud of to say, yeah, that was what I valued through my life and I showed up in that. And I eventually figured out that I only let people in who also showed up in that. And so I created this beautiful, peaceful life for myself. Of course, it's still going to have challenges, but you're doing the best that you can to respond to life, not react to it, by having your values in place. Putting that lens on every single day, looking through it, being like, okay, somebody who values kindness, what do they do? How do they speak? What actions do they take? How do they show kindness to their friends, their family, their colleagues, their acquaintances, the waiter, the taxi driver, the Uber driver, right? And then you let people in who show you kindness in return. Everyone else is just them doing their thing. You don't let those people into your close-knit circle if they're not kind, if they're mean, right? Because hurt people hurt people. So a lot of people who haven't done any growth and who hold a lot of pain and trauma will hurt other people naturally. And it's not about you, it's about them. So yeah, that's why values are incredibly important to understand, to have awareness of, to bring into your life. And if you're in a relationship or, you've got a beautifully aware friends circle, like have these conversations. What do you value? What do you want your life to look like? Is that job something that aligns for you? Right? Having these conversations and just asking the questions and being curious about each other is so beautiful. And that's what allows more depth to relationships too. More depth. This little doobies doesn't want to stay today. So hopefully you can all hear me. My mic is kind of, the top that I'm wearing is a little bit too, I don't know, it doesn't want to work. Anyways, let's try that. Oh, it's flopping around everywhere. I'm actually going to get up and see how long we've been going for. 28 minutes. I tell you what, guys, the first episode was like 30. The second one was 27. This one is nearly about to hit 28. It's clearly I'm good at talking for 30 minutes, and that's about when I run out of content, apparently. So funny. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up there. That's values. I'm going to drop in... Okay, I'm going to drop a list of values in the show notes, so if you want to do this from home, you can. And what I would love to see you do is I want you to kind of pick your let's say top 5 to 10 values in each category. And then I want you to give the definition of that value to you. What is your definition of that value? Where is that value showing up in your life? Where could it be showing up more? Where are you actively living that value? Where could you be actively living it more? Where are you receiving that value from others? And where are you not? Okay, so like put the value down, do all of that. Give it a tick, yes, I'm living that value. Or a cross, if you could be doing it more. Really accountable, take ownership for your own stuff as well. Like, are you perhaps not showing up in the best way that you could be in that? And if so, how do you change that? And the people in your life, are they that value, tick or cross? And then it can be, having some hard conversations and or making some hard decisions on whether or not those people definitely bring you those feelings that you want to feel in your day-to-day life. It can be a little bit harsh, but it does bring you more peace, I guarantee you that, and it will set you up for more success within your relationships if you can figure out what these values are. So yeah, let's wrap it up there. Thanks for joining me for episode number 3. And I sincerely hope that you got a lot of takeaways from this. It's such a profound topic. Like I mentioned in episode 1, this changed the way I seen a lot of things and in the best ways possible. So yeah, enjoy the episode. Let me know what your values are. Let me know what kind of epiphanies you've had throughout this. Let me know what your takeaways are from the show. I really do genuinely enjoy hearing from you guys. So enjoy your day. I hope you drink more of your mug than I do. I'm too busy talking. Mm-hmm. It's not cold, but it's almost cold. I hope you enjoyed your mug, and I'll talk to you and see you all next week. Bye bye.